Well, thanks, special thanks to all the executive committee members and all of the members who served on those committees. I think we had a great year. We accomplished a lot. We certainly demonstrated resilience in how we did our work. I also want to thank Howard Bartner. Howard is our liaison with the JA Staff Alumni Network with JAUSA, and he really makes it easier for us to coordinate our activity with JAUSA. So I think Howard's on here somewhere, and I just want to thank him for his help all year long.
Thank
Uh,
you, Jean. Thanks for what you all do for the organization.
yes, well, thanks for not changing your phone number. We'll keep calling. All right, our next speaker, when you introduce somebody like this, the person who's introducing always begins by saying, now our next speaker needs no introduction. But you know what? That's really true for this next speaker. He needs no introduction. He started as an achiever in Toledo. He's had over 40 years of professional service with JA. And we have each known him as a colleague, a friend, a leader, and today the president of JAUSA. We asked Jack if he would be kind enough to send us a little video giving us an update on how JAUSA is responding to the pandemic and what we can be thinking about and seeing in the future. So we now have Jack.
Greetings to all of you with the Junior Achievement Staff Alumni Network. With all that's been going on, it seems like a lifetime ago when we were last together in Colorado Springs. Like all of you, over the past 4 months, we at Jay have been dealing with lots of challenges. Between social distancing to combat COVID-19 and the resulting economic challenges, as well as the issue of institutional racial inequity and discrimination that has risen to the forefront of all we do, we've been busy both reacting and planning for a very different future. I've been proud of the responsiveness and resilience of our JA teams, both locally and nationally. In regard to COVID-19, since the outbreak began in March, we have been operating under 5 overarching strategies, and these are in no particular order. To mitigate COVID-19 risk, prioritizing the safety and well-being of JA stakeholders, including students, volunteers, educators, and staff. Position Jay as empathetic and relevant during the crisis. To increase organizational communications, connectivity, and provide JA-specific expertise and guidance to Jay areas on COVID-19 related information, opportunities, and threats. To proactively manage the economic impact of the pandemic. And perhaps the most important, to modify and create Jay programs and experiences to deal with the new educational realities. So now, rather than go through all of these actions taken under all 5 strategies, I'll highlight those related to assisting Jay areas navigate the economic challenges resulting from the pandemic and those related to program modifications to deal with new education realities. Recognizing that charitable giving to non-pandemic related activities would likely be reduced, we focused on cost containment and relief funding for both Jay areas and the national office. The results of those efforts include: we had 103 Jay areas that were coached by our CFO to receive Paycheck Protection Program PPP loans through the SBA, totaling $16.5 million. Now, on top of that, JAUSA received a PPP loan in the amount of $1.66 million, with we anticipate $1.25 million of that amount being converted to a grant. We reduced the size of the national staff by 25%, eliminating 19 FTEs and reducing total compensation expenses by over $1.7 million. That was a tough decision. We had to let go of some 30-year plus people, but had to do it for cost containment efforts. We reduced service and support fees charged by JAUSA to Jay areas by 40% for the final quarter of the 1920 fiscal year, resulting in savings to Jay areas of $1.7 million. We also championed the issuance of $1.75 million in interest-free loans to 34 J areas from our friends at the Achievement Foundation. Repayment of those loans is suspended for 12 months, and the J areas will have 3 years to pay it back. So in looking ahead, JAUSA is reducing service and support fees to J areas by 20% for the entire 2021 fiscal year, resulting in savings to J areas of $2.95 million. JUSA is also holding our 2020-21 fiscal year health benefits premiums to the same level as last year. So we're foregoing what would have been a 7% increase, resulting in savings to J areas of $620,000. When you total all those numbers up, through the efforts of JUSA, J areas have received over $18 million in interest-free or low-interest loans, many of which will be converted to grants. On the cost savings side, JUSA has provided $5.27 million in fee reductions to J areas. These efforts will help to keep many of our J areas from closing and has built tremendous goodwill towards JUSA. Switching over now to the programmatic side, social distancing and closed schools accelerated our strategic plans to advance our blended and digital learning efforts. So if you're looking for a positive coming out of the pandemic, this accelerated acceptance of digital learning is one of them. MC and her team did a marvelous job of both accelerating our digital efforts and pivoting existing program experiences to work in a virtual environment. So as schools across the country began to close, a centralized depository of program resources for parents, teachers, and students was created. The resources included self-guided experiences for parents and at-home students to access, so going right to the customer. Jay created videos of Jay volunteers presenting condensed content for Jay's suite of K-12 programs. Educator access to all of Jay's 6th through 12th grade blended programs and 10 semester-long courses for use in remote learning were provided. Career speaker videos and much, much more. Now, switching a bit, and more recently, the issue of institutional racial inequity and discrimination has joined COVID-19 as front page news, but also, and more importantly, in jarring our nation into a reality check. From my perspective, this is the first time that there appears to be universal acceptance within the nation's consciousness that this inequity needs to be decisively addressed, not in the future, but now, and that all of us need to be part of the solution. So for Jay's part, earlier this month, we at JUSA laid out a high-level overview outlining the areas that we'll be focusing on to address these issues within JA. Most importantly, making JA a more inclusive organization has been elevated from an operational objective to a strategic priority. Areas to be addressed under that strategic priority include staffing, training, volunteers, boards of directors, branding, and curriculum. So in other words, we're going to review all of our programs, processes, practices, and activities. With a strong foundation that all of you were part of building, I'm confident that despite these unprecedented challenges, Junior Achievement will emerge as a stronger, more relevant, and more impactful organization. Please know that all of us at JA are appreciative of the past support of the Junior Achievement Staff Alumni Network and look forward to the time when we can once again gather in person. Stay safe and stay positive.